Welcome in, I'm Artress, and in this video we are finally going to start covering some of the older leaders, and by older I mean from previous sets, and what the OP10 set has done to kind of help revitalize or maybe strengthen some of these leaders going into the OP10 meta. The first leader I wanted to cover is Shanks, because that is a leader that I played a lot of in the previous set in OP09, and I think that he has a few new tools which makes Shanks probably one of the best, if not the best deck in the format as of right now. If you're unfamiliar with Shanks, very quickly we'll go over what he does. He's a 5-life red leader that says once per turn you may activate this effect when your opponent attacks. Give up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters minus 1,000 power for the turn. So this is essentially every turn acting as an additional 1k counter in your hand for free. So you have great defensive capabilities, and from there it allows you to play a little bit more aggressively if you so choose. You can also choose a more defensive path. What's great about Shanks is he's a solid mid-range leader. You can choose a couple of different ways to go. The build that I have today is more of a mid-range control version. It's actually kind of a hybrid between a little bit of the aggression that we get from OP10 and the starter deck 21, and then it also has some of the control aspects from previous sets added in. But before we go over the deck list, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to drop a sub and hit the like button if you enjoy the video. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, please make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. So because not a lot has changed for Shanks going into OP10, I think we can cover over some of these things very quickly. Starting off, I'm running 4 Otama. This is pretty standard. This is a great power reduction and a 2k counter all built into one. You have very much a great versatility there. Next, we're running 1 copy of the 10 cost KO Shanks. I was running 1 copy at the end of OP09 to handle things like Enel, and now that Enel's not nearly as prominent anymore, we have seen more of a Bonney rise up, and actually just green in general being able to play the 8 cost kid. Sometimes you can get away with popping the 8 cost kid with the Shanks. Otherwise, you can also use this to KO like a 9 cost Zoro, because we're definitely seeing a few more of those rise up as well. So I think it's worth having into the deck, and you can actually search this out with adding in the new Uta searcher from OP09 as well to be able to find it a little bit more consistently. Running 3 Dragon and 3 Rayleigh. In the previous set, I was running 3 Dragon and 4 Rayleigh, but I think that cutting down on the Rayleigh here makes a little bit more sense to add in room for other things in the deck. But Rayleigh is going to be probably one of the best plays you can have on 8, because it minuses 3,000 and minuses 2,000 to something, and KOs something that's at 3,000 power or less. And oftentimes you can get something that's a little bit higher up to get within that range. So Rayleigh is great, but also if you're trying to go more of an aggressive route, Dragon is definitely going to be your best bet here. Both of these plays on 8 are very solid and strong. You're never really disappointed to see either of these. It just depends on the situation and, of course, who you're going against. I'm running 4 Uta. This is a great way to search out a lot of your mid-range, your 2k counters, and also some of your top end. A lot of the problems with Shanks is that he doesn't really have a lot of consistency overall. He has to draw into the things he needs, but Uta at least helps add some consistency to the deck overall, rather than just relying on your draw and your life. Running 3 of the 10 cost Shanks. I would like to run 4, but it feels a little bit just extra. If you're running 4, you're never really ever going to be playing more than 2, I would imagine, in a game. And so 3, I think, is a pretty good spot. Yeah, all you really need to do is see this once. Maybe if you're going against like a deck like Blue, like Boa, or maybe even Doffy nowadays, where they're running Red Rocks, maybe 2 could be good on the field at the same time. But otherwise, you just grab 1 and then pass on to the next. Of course, a playset of Ben Beckman is pretty much understood here. Being able to trash a character 6,000 power or less on 7 is a really strong curve. Then we're running 4 Hongo, another great card to actually play on curve. It's a 2k counter that's basically like Otama but repeatable, so minus 2,000 power to any character on the field. Then we're running 3 Yasop. This one I usually had at 4, but I bumped it down to 3 to make room for some other things here, and you can also search this out. And we're running 6 5-drops overall, so we should be able to hit our curve pretty consistently. The curve, of course, being 3, 5, 7, and then whatever you want on 9. This deck does like to go first, at least the way that I play it. Some people like to go second, and that curve is also fine as well. You can go either way. So overall, I would choose to go first. Your mulligan is usually going to be something like a Yasop, or maybe like the new Luffy, which we'll get to in a second. Next, I'm running 3 Lime Juice. This is a 2k counter searchable because it's a Red Hair Pirates type, so you can find it with Uta if you need to. What's important here is it also has a nice little bit of utility. As you can see, all of our 2ks have utility in them. This one allows you to bypass a blocker that's 4,000 power or less. In this meta, I feel like there's a fair amount of blockers being added to decks now, because I think decks like Lucci are being taken out out. Although Lucci is still strong, we are adding in more blockers because we can use those blockers more effectively, and maybe at the end of the game, your opponent has put up a bunch of blockers, or maybe even just one blocker, and you need to get by it. Lime Juice is a great way to do that. Speaking of blockers, I am adding in more Lucky Roo because the only thing that really bothers Lucky Roo is the 4-cost Law, and if you're going against Doffy, then you're probably never playing this anyway. It's just a 1k counter, but in other matchups, it's a pretty solid card to have, especially if you're going against Zoro, which Zoro is a real tough leader for you to go against right now. Lucky Roo helps kind of equal out the field as much as possible. This card is great against Pluffy, so overall, I want to see it more often than not, especially if I have to go second, then this is a great card to put down on curve. Of course, I mentioned the 10-cost Roger. I want to include this in any red deck that I have, at least as a one of. A card that has a win condition on it is just, I'm a sucker for, so I have to have this in the deck. You don't need to run this Roger, of course. You don't need this in Shanks. For me, it's a nice to have. If I see it, I'm never upset with seeing it. It's a great card to have, and I have actually pulled off the win condition multiple times with it, but I would recommend if you're not really feeling like running the Roger, you don't have to for this deck. A new addition from OP10, because everything we've seen so far has been actually from previous sets. It is the 3-cost Sanji that actually is probably the best card to come out of OP10 in my opinion. It is on your turn. This character gains 3,000 power, so it swings for 6, and then on defense, it is back down to 3,000 power, making it easy to swing into and KO, but on KO, it replaces itself, drawing a card. Really great to be able to play down on curve if you are going first. Even if you're going second, you can throw this down on your 4-Don turn and swing for 6. You don't mind this being KO'd. Additionally, you can also protect it more easily because of your leader ability if you want to, although I don't recommend doing that. Just getting the card advantage is nicer at the end of the day. On to the other new addition from OP10. This is a 2k counter Tony Chopper. It's a 4-cost blocker that also says on the opponent's turn, this character gains 2,000 power. So this is a great way to, if you don't have a Lucky Roo on 4, you can play down the Tony Chopper, and this is going to likely stop pretty much any attack that your opponent throws at you the next turn, because this is a 6,000 power defender. You use your leader ability to shrink down whatever comes at you that next turn, and you can probably block it for free with this chopper. To continue on with the new addition, we have 3 of the 5-cost Luffy from the starter deck 21. I think that you could probably run this at maybe even a 4 of. I really like this card in the deck. Sometimes you want to go more of a slow route, so the Yasop is great to have. Sometimes you can't dictate what you get, and if you get a Luffy on curve, then I'm super happy with that, because if you're playing this on 5, you swing this for 6, and then you put the rested Dawn to your leader and swing for 6 again with your leader, which is really strong, being able to swing for 2 6s in a turn, and this will be easier to defend because of your leader ability on the following turn. It's quite a nuisance for the opponent to have to deal with, and every turn you're getting a little bit more value because of the fact that it does take a rested Dawn and put it wherever you'd like. And then finally, I'm running 2 of the new 1-cost event, Divine Departure. This is a 1-cost event that says main, you may rest 5 Dawn, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8,000 power or less. And then it also has a counter that says up to one of your leaders gains 3,000 power during this battle. It doesn't protect characters. If it protected characters, this thing would be absolutely nuts, but unfortunately it does not. So we're going to only run it at 2 because there are options where you can, on maybe your 7 Dawn turn or even 6 Dawn turn, KO an 8,000 power character. It's great to answer things on the field if you so choose. Otherwise, it's a great defensive tool as well. If an opponent's trying to go for game, you can leave a Dawn or 2 up and maybe bluff a Red Hawk, but really have a Divine Departure or maybe even a second one as well, and they might not expect that. It's a really strong card because it is versatile, and we're definitely going to see more event cards like this in the future where they do have the option to either be a counter or a main, and I like that in this deck, of course. So I think that overall, Shanks, because of the bans, we are seeing a resurgence of this deck. I think it was really run a lot in the start of OP09, but yeah, with the recent bans, we are seeing Shanks actually start to be a lot more played, because one of the things that Shanks had a problem with, well, actually a couple of things that Shanks had a problem with, was dealing with Doffy on a consistent basis without actually adding in like the 7-cost Newgate or maybe some other tech cards as well. And also, Lucci was a real problem for Shanks if they ended up seeing their curve, which oftentimes they will see exactly what they need. And it's just Lucci gaming sometimes, right? So with those 2 decks being hit with the bans, of course, Ice Age, Moria, and the 4-cost Jimbei for Doffy, that means those decks are played less frequently. And so that means that Shanks will be able to thrive a little bit more as a result. Of course, there are decks out there that can answer Shanks pretty consistently and very well. Like Purple Luffy can be a pretty big problem for Shanks. Zoro is a huge problem for Shanks. I think if you're going against decks like Blackbeard and they take second, sometimes it can be a big nuisance to deal with Blackbeard. But everything else is pretty much free game, dare I say. I don't know. I feel like Shanks is in a really solid spot for a couple of reasons. He plays to his curve. He has really strong values on his bodies, and now those bodies are harder to remove. And Shanks's late game is almost unstoppable once you start getting the traction going with the 10 cost. So I think Shanks is a really solid pick, especially if you're new to the game. I think Shanks is going to be an easier deck to pick up. And also, if you're a veteran of the game, your fundamentals are going to shine on this deck. I don't see why you shouldn't play this deck overall. Of course, everyone will be playing it, and the mirror is pretty atrocious, not gonna lie. There are different variants, and I'll talk about this really quickly before we go into some games. Of course, what you see here is kind of like a hybrid version where we do have some of the, like the Sanji and the Luffy and also the Chopper. Obviously, the Chopper is pretty much in every build, but like Sanji is not necessarily going to be in every Shanks deck. I think it should. I've definitely seen some where they exclude the Sanji, and this Luffy is not necessarily ran in every Shanks deck either. You can run like the 5-cost Marco if you're going more of the control route, but you can also go a Straw Hat version where you run the Nami Searcher and you're running a bunch of the Straw Hats. You're not running any of the 10-cost top end. And so you could go a different route as well if you want to. Personally, I don't like playing that build nearly as much as like a hybrid or even a control build, but that's the beauty of Shanks. You can build it a couple different ways. With the aggro variant, you can also run like the animal package. So there's a couple of different ways to do it, of course, but here is the list at least that I'm the most comfortable with and I think can perform consistently on a tournament level. But let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, Bonney is not necessarily going to be the easiest matchup, but it is one of our more favored matchups for sure. We have to play it correctly in order to get this W here. The Uta Searcher is definitely our best bet for starting off, so that's why I mulliganed the hand, because there was a lot of nothing going on early. They play out a Bonney, tap out, so we can actually swing into it with the Uta. And there's an argument to swing a little bit higher with the Uta, but maybe we could get a 2K. So we'll just go Uta and then swing 8 into lead, pass the turn. Unfortunately, we didn't get a 3-cost to play down on curve. It would have been nice to have that Sanji, but it is what it is. This next turn, depending on what they do, I feel like, okay, so Tashigi's fine. We'll use our leader ability here. They're just setting up to protect their future turns, their future units. We'll swing 5, see what they do. And then we will throw out this Luffy and swing 7. The reason I didn't throw out the Luffy first is because they would rest my leader, and that would be just no reason for that. They did take the 5, very interesting, so they might take the 7 as well. Going down to 2 this early could be a problem for them. That's insane. Okay, yeah, so this Luffy's really good for that. Unfortunately, they do have the Tashigi out on the field, as I mentioned, so this Cavendish will likely stick for an extra turn, because the effect of Tashigi being able to rest itself if one of its green units are removed from the field is pretty powerful. So we're just going to go ahead and use the Ben Beckman to get rid of the Tashigi first. And then we'll swing 7 into the lead with this Luffy. Of course, they're going to rest the leader here. And that's why I put the Rested Dawn on the Luffy. And they give us a 2 and a 1. Very good to see here. Their best bet on this play being on 8 would be maybe... Hody Jones is really scary for them at this point, going down to 1 life. That I don't think they would want to do. They could play out maybe a Smoker or maybe a Carrot. I think they're still running Carrots in their builds. Yeah, okay, so Smoker's a pretty solid build here, or pretty solid character to throw out. I think we just let this one go because we don't want to throw a bunch of cards away. And I actually might take a hit here. Against Bonney, I actually don't mind taking life because of the fact that I just want cards. I just want cards, and that's all I can ask for. Another 10 cost is really good here. Something to keep in mind against Bonney is you don't want to swing your 10 cost the turn that you throw it down, because they usually have a KO Shanks ready to go. Here we'll use the Uta Searcher to see if we can find anything, and oh, we whiff. Unlucky. We have about 22 targets in the deck, so whiffing is sometimes a thing, but oh well. We'll swing 8 at lead because they're going to rest our leader as a result. And there was an argument to play the Otama and Ben Beckman to get rid of the Smoker, but I actually think that the Cavendish provides more value for them overall. You could argue that they're basically the same thing in a sense, because Smoker restands a Dawn, Cavendish restands 2, Smoker has Banish, but I think most of the time we'll see Smoker hitting life, not as a character. Okay, so they do throw out 9 cost Zoro. Here's where I wish that I had the KO Shanks, but it is what it is. We'll take this life because maybe we can get a counter to... Oh, they don't even... We drew into... Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Let's swing 7 into lead, just see what they do first. They're going to rest the Ben Beckman. They didn't even swing the Smoker. They imagine... I mean, they know that I have a 10 cost rush Shanks, so they might not want to leave that Smoker susceptible. But then that means I'm just going to be swinging at life here. So let's swing 5, see what they do. They take it? Oh my god. I'm considering playing this KO Shanks, but because they took that, I think we just play the Rush Shanks. They have 7 in hand, and it's like, why did they just take the 5? What? They are, oh my god, they're bricked up. That's insane. They had all these Hody Jones ready to go. Sometimes you just have to read the opponent, because if they take that 5, like, what does that mean? They have nothing in hand. Otherwise, I would have played out the 10 cost KO Shanks and then passed the turn at that point, and then had big bodies on the field. Piss Kids should be an interesting matchup for us. They chose to go second, which is really good for them. Their curve is definitely 4, 6, 8, 10. But our curve is 5, 7, whatever, you know. We're good on this curve as well. We actually can play out the Hongo and probably have it survive. The only issue is that they could run Gadatsu and get rid of the Hongo, and then we're down a 2k, but I think we're going to be okay at that point. So we will swing 5. Actually, maybe Uta's a little bit better here. We'll grab a Yasop. That's the only thing we can grab. These Uta searchers have not been great so far. We'll just go ahead and swing 7 and pass the turn. The other option would have been to swing 5 here and then play out the Hongo and then have the Hongo ready to like minus things and get them within range. But I don't think there's a reason to just quite yet. I think we just hold on to our 2k. Usually on the second curve, Kid will just swing like flat at you. So it's like we're fine with this here. I should expect this Basil Hawkins to block, but I think I'm just going to pass the turn here because of the fact that if it blocks, we get a life trashed. But now we're susceptible to Gadatsu and the Yasop, so there's a trade-off there, of course. I think not having them use their leader ability this next turn is pretty powerful, plus also the fact that we will get some life as a result. We can just use our leader ability here, so I guess we're not getting life at the end. But we're not going to swing into this Hawkins because we have a Ben Beckman to trash the Hawkins, so then the KO effect does not take place. So ultimately, that's the reason why I didn't swing, just as a way to preserve my life and keep rather healthy. There's no need to like lose that card there. Sure, we lost a Yasop in the process, but we'll be okay. Here, they might just swing 6, and then they're on 8, so they could play out the 8 cost Kid and trash a life, which is pretty annoying. But regardless, I think against Kid's like a less scarier version of Katakuri, in my opinion. They have a lot of big drops, but the big drops are more manageable for us, as opposed to like Katakuri having like the 10 cost Big Mom. They do like to trash our life, which is quite the nuisance, but I think here we're just going to take as much life as possible so that they're not trashing the life and getting rid of it. They play out the 7 cost Law, so they heal 1. They're going to be able to make this a blocker. Let's go ahead and use our leader ability and give a 2k here. So they can make this Law a blocker, and then they're up 1 life again. That's fine. We're just going to bait the block. We're going to try to get cards out of hand. They have quite a lot of cards. 7 cards in hand is not exactly what I like to see here. So maybe they'll use their blocker here. And if they do, we're going to play out the Dragon and then swing really big into it. I think that's our best bet. The other thing we could do here is like swing. I mean, we might just swing 7 at lead, see if they block. They should block this one more than likely. Okay. And here we're going to swing 12 at 9. Not the best numbers here. They can give us 2 2Ks, but that is 2 2Ks out of their hand if that's the case. And then we should be able to defend the 2 bodies on the board rather easily. So 0 cost event plus a 1K. What did they pitch? Okay, so they pitched 2 searchers and a 0 cost. That's pretty good for us. They're down to 6 cards in hand now. The next turn for us is a little bit awkward because we don't have any big bodies, and that's going to really win us the match, is throwing down like a 10 cost Shanks. Okay, so Law into the Dragon. Pretty good number there, but we're going to use our leader ability and then give a 2k, of course. 5 into 5. I think we just take this, and then depending on what they do here, 6 into 5. I think we just counter out of this one because they might throw down an 8 cost Kid. Yeah. Okay, so 8 cost Kid comes down. If we took that Gadatsu hit, then that means we'd be down to 1 life, and that's really scary for us to be at for them, or for us rather, because of the fact that they could throw out another 8 cost Kid, and if we don't answer this board effectively, then that could be a problem. So we're going to go 11 into 9 because it was a little bit harder for them to counter out of it last turn. So this turn, it might be very difficult for them to do that. So we'll go 11 into 9, and then we'll go 8 into 6 into the Gadatsu. This will likely be a block, but if it's a block, then I think we turn our attention. This might sound troll, but I think we turn our attention into this Law and try to get it off the field. Just go 12 into 9, see if they have the counter, or maybe they'll let it go. It seemed like they struggled the previous turn to get rid of or to protect it. A 0-cost event and then 2 1Ks. They didn't give us any 2Ks. Usually a 0-cost event is saved for the end. Oh, okay. So 2K, 1K, 1K. Yeah, they're really low on hand size here. They might try to push for game because of the fact that I'm at 2 life. But I do have a lot of counter in hand, so I should be okay. And then we can kind of take back the board at this point. They're unable to use their leader ability because of the fact that Capone is exposed, so they can't reveal their life and then restand something. So I think that's important to note. I think we'll just give them a 2K here. We're not going to use our leader ability because I think that they're trying to bait us to use it so that they can swing into like the dragon. So we're going to just see what they do first. Maybe just use the counters instead of countering out naturally or using our leader ability. Yeah, this is a pretty easy like use our leader ability swing, but I'm not going to because I want to use my leader ability on this law. I feel like they're trying to bait me into using the leader ability so that they can go all in on the dragon here. We'll see what they do though. If I were them, I mean, I might, it depends on what they have in their hand, but I might swing into the Beckman, like go 11. Okay, 9's fine. I'll just counter out of this one pretty easily. Our board is well protected. We still have counter in hand here. Hawkins, Cavendish, they have 1 card in hand, but they can't restand anything. So yeah, here we can just go 9 into 9, get that last card out of hand, or just let it go. We'll go 7 into 6 because they let the 9 to 9 go. Then what we can do here is go 5. No, let's go Yasop first. And then go 6 into 5 because they let the 7 into 6 go. They are not using the beige. They're not respecting my Uta, so I'm gonna swing 6 again. I know that's a little bit cheeky here, but I'm gonna do it and then leave 1 open for the Divine Departure in case they decide to push base. This is probably really annoying for them because of the fact that they had the beige. They know that I know they have a beige. They're just letting it go. That might mean they have like an ace. If they have an ace, what does that mean for us? Is that a problem? I don't think it's a huge problem, but we have to be careful on how we counter out. Because if it's an ace, they go 5 lead, 5 Basil Hawkins, 8 Cavendish. Oh, they can't even go 5 lead because of my Yasop. That's right. That was a pretty smart play. No, I mean, just Yasop's decent because like if you play Yasop late, it's basically like a reverse 10 cost where, you know, like the 10 cost when it comes down minuses 1,000 to everything on the field. So it makes it a little bit harder for things to swing in. But with Yasop, it makes things harder to swing into your leader because you have basically gotten for every swing at you an additional 1K. So, okay. So here they're just going to heal up with the 7 cost law. That's fine. I think we're still looking pretty good here. If they decide to swing at face, I think I just take it. I think I just take both hits because their best bet here would be to like maybe restand the Hawkins and then have the Hawkins trash a life. But if I'm at 0, then it doesn't matter. 7 to 6. I think we just take it. I think we definitely take it now, seeing that we have this Roger. Because the Roger pretty much means that we win the game here. We're pretty comfortable just taking this. We'll go down to 0. I don't have any issues here because we can just counter out. They go like, what are they doing? 7 into, okay, yeah. 7 into 6, we'll use our leader ability, give them a 1K. And then we can just throw it on this Roger, and the Roger should win us the game because they're going to restand the Cavendish. Yeah. We'll go 5, give us a counter. We'll go 6, give us a counter. Yeah, they just block off the bat. Let's see. Let's just quickly look. If we swung 5, they would have given us a 2K. If we swung 6, they would have given us a 2K. Swing 7, they have to take it. Swing 9, they have to take it. Swing 13, that's game. Yeah, we had game with the Roger on the field, but yeah, sometimes people forget that if you block at any point with the Roger on the field, you lose the game if you or your opponent are at 0. I'm not going to lie, I've been clowned on a few times by Yamato. I feel like this matchup could be rough if they see like their banish, but I think this hand is fine. We have a Sanji to play down on our forward on turn. If we want, we can play it on the chopper. Usually I just take this first hit. It's fine to go down to 3. I'm not too scared. Gosh, we have so many 2Ks in our hand. We're chilling. We are in a good spot here. We'll swing 6 into 5. They could have counters. This could be a problem, but we'll see what it is. Okay, no counter here. We're lucky they didn't have any bodies come out. So now we're on an equal playing field, except actually not quite because I have way more cards in hand. And I have a body on the field, so pretty good on my spot. Basil Hawkins is a pretty good addition into Yamato's deck list. I think here we just give him a 2K because I want to be able to play out this Yasop the next turn. So yeah, we'll swing 5 first, because if we throw out the Yasop at any point, they could have a KO trigger. So always swing your bodies first against yellow, if you can. Okay, they give us 2 1Ks. That's pretty telling. I'm going to swing 6 here. They give us 2 1Ks, so I think it doesn't matter if we swing 6 or 7. Yeah. This seems like it's a trigger. What could it be? It's a Nami. Okay, see, this is why I waited to play the Yasop, even though it doesn't really make too much of a difference. The fact that they just gave us 2 1Ks means that if we swing 6 again, they're probably going to give us 2 more 1Ks, or they have to take the life. They took the life, and then they used it to KO the Sanji, so that's pretty good there. Ooh, that Robin hurts. That Robin hurts, but that means that they also can't get an attack in with their leader. Here, we're going to go ahead and just use the leader ability on Yamato, and then pitch a 2K. And then they can't swing because they're at 5, I'm at 6. I think we just ignore the Hawkins here. I think we go 6 at lead, see what they do, because they didn't. Oh, they finally got a 2K. Good to see. There's an argument to play the Beckman and clear out the board a little bit, but also I feel like let's just play Dragon and then just go 7, 9. I feel like that's fine, right? Do they have the counter for this? Could be a 0-cost event. Yeah, oh my gosh, they pitched. It looked like a Hody Jones they pitched. So let's swing 9 here. Yeah, it was a Hody Jones. No trigger. We got pretty lucky that was not a trigger there. This next turn, I mean, depending on what they do, we could just win the game here. They have 3 cards in hand. They're looking like pretty rough, and we have a Goldie Roger ready to go. Okay, so 8-cost Kid. They're going a real interesting build here. I actually like this build. It's like the Piss Kid version, but I feel like this is slightly better for Yamato at least. We'll go ahead and take this because I'm not as scared of anything here. We'll take it, and if they block her up, which they don't have blockers, but we could play out the Goldie Roger. So we'll go ahead and just take this. I mean, this is not how you should play. You should probably play a little bit more defensively. But the fact that we pretty much have game here, we'll swing 9 with the Dragon first because they have 2 cards in hand. Unless there's like a 0-cost event in life, then we pretty much have lethal. Yeah, we'll just swing the rest on. So yeah, we got lucky here because of the fact that they just kind of bricked a little bit. Not brick, they just didn't have the counters. They had counters at some points, but they just didn't have it when it mattered the most. Katakuri is actually a matchup that is favorable for Katakuri. This hand is pretty solid though. Even though we're going second, we will be able to play out a pretty decent curve. So we have Uta to grab a 10 cost, then we can play out a Sanji the next turn into a Luffy. So we will be applying some pressure. We'll use our leader ability here to just minus 1,000. They play out a Bonney. Interesting here. So they might counter out with the Bonney in the field, knowing that they can get cards back. That's fine here. So we'll see what they do, of course. They might, on 5, they could play Gadatsu, they could play Nami. Okay, so they have a Nami here. They're going pretty low in hand size at 5, that's fine. They're probably not going to swing because I'm just going to use my leader ability, but you should always swing no matter what. Here, let's go ahead and swing 6 into lead, and then we'll swing 7 into lead. Oh, a Brûlée trigger, pretty nice there. Instant block. This might be an opportunity for them to swing into the Luffy and get some cards out of hand, but we'll see. Okay, so they're on 7. They're playing the 7-cost Linlin. Ooh, that hurts. Trashing the Roger hurts, but that's fine. We're going to go ahead and play out the Divine Departure and get rid of the Linlin. I'm surprised that they didn't swing in the previous turn, but we're going to go 7-7 this turn and punish them. Either way, like, we would have gotten rid of the bodies off the field, but now we're just really pushing life. So that's pretty good for us. And by the way, at this, like, we should always be trashing our life, especially if we're at 5. I feel like we should just be doing it so that we're not giving them life and prolonging the game. Here, they're signifying that they're going to be swinging at life because they're putting a Don on the Bonney. They have Damned Punk, so they're going to be able to KO this Luffy, unfortunately. But that means this next turn we can play out a Beckman and probably clear the board a little bit. Use our leader ability on the Nami. We'll counter out of this one with the Sanji, and then I think we just have to take this next one, depending. Oh, we could counter out of this one. I think we just take it. They can draw some cards. It's fine. I think we want to keep our hand as healthy as possible. Oh yeah, we're on 10. We're gonna play out the Shanks, and then just they're instantly gonna block that. But we're just trying to clear the board. This could be a 10 cost. It is a 10 cost, unfortunately, and they get rid of our 10 cost of our own. That hurts a lot. We'll go ahead and play a Rayleigh and then get rid of the Nami. And then I think we can just swing 7-12. They could counter out of this one. They do. We'll go 12. Hopefully no trigger here. And I imagine that this is going to be another 10 cost Big Mom coming this next turn. We have a lot of counter to be able to survive, so that's good at least. But this is where it gets scary. When they start dropping 10 drops, it's pretty hard for us to come back from that. We'll go ahead and drop 2 2Ks to stay at 1. Yep, I figured this was the case. We can actually answer the Lin, so we're going to swing into it here. And I think we should probably play out a Lucky Roo. So we'll go 15 into 11, really awkward for them to counter out of. They might have it, but that would mean dumping their entire hand, which I don't think they want to do here. We could swing 5-5, but I think 7-9 might be fine. We could also leave one open for a potential Divine Departure. Unfortunately, this Satori comes down. That is a problem here. But yeah, with this Lucky Roo, it's pretty solid here that we might be able to survive unless, of course, they have a way to rest it or KO it. But doesn't look like it if they're just swinging to begin with. So let's go ahead and just block this first one and then kind of bait them to swing all in because I think we can just survive whatever they have after this. The fact that we have 4 2Ks and a 1K in our hand is pretty good overall for survivability. We'll be able to handle whatever they throw. And then, of course, if they don't have any like big triggers at the end, we should be okay. So yeah, we're going to take the 12 because then that means the most they can do here is 11, but I'll use my leader ability and then minus it. So it's 10 and then give them 3 2Ks. And here, I think you just open up with a Shanks swing for 12. Just, it's going to be really difficult for them to counter out of that. Okay, so is it an enemy trigger and then we'll just swing big? Yeah, we had it. Unfortunately, it did see the 2 Big Moms there, but I think that we had to at least get one off the field and then be able to go for game the next turn after that. But this is a tough matchup. All right, against Buggy, I think that we have to just be aware that by the end game, they have potential to go really wide and also answer our 10 costs. So keep that in mind. We'll just swing 8 here because we have no other play. This next turn, we could play out a Lucky Roo, but hopefully we draw into a 5 cost. Go 9. They just answer our huge swing as well. Ooh, this Luffy's really good here. We'll go 6 into 6, or 6 into 5, and then 6 into 5 again. Get 2 2Ks out of hand if possible. We want to drain their hand because they kind of do it themselves as well. If they're countering out of this, this is really good because that means it's harder for them to use their leader ability as time goes on. Because every time they use their leader ability, they have to drop a card. They will just use our leader ability, give them the Lucky Roo, and then this next turn we have the Beckman ready to go. Of course, Beckman isn't going to be able to answer either of these bodies, but I still think it's worth dropping the Beckman regardless. Let's swing 5 first and see if we can bait out the Mihawk's like block. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's going to work. We'll go ahead and then just swing 7. They could just block and give us a 1K here. They are countering out of everything, which is really good for us. Yeah, this is really good that they're countering out of all this. Being at 4 in hand, I feel like they just should take like a life or 2. I don't think it's that bad of an idea, especially when they're going to need all the cards in their hand to be able to use their leader ability. Here, we're in a pretty good spot. They use their leader ability to play out a Kabaji. If a character, Buggy or Moji in play, this character can't be KO'd in battle. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to use my leader ability and give him a 2K here, and then we're kind of in an awkward spot again, so I think we just have to play the chopper. We'll go ahead and swing 7, give a rested to my leader, swing 7 again. And then we can swing 9, leave 1 open for in case we get a Divine Departure. They're going to go down to 1. And they're going to be on 10 Dawn here. So 10 Dawn means that they could actually fill up the board and put a 10 cost Buggy on the field. They'd probably, if that's the case, they would probably do that with the, oh gosh, that's super unlucky. Gravity Blade being that trigger there. The bottom decking my Luffy. Because here they're probably going to go and build one more character and then use their leader ability to get rid of the Beckman with the 10 cost Buggy, of course. And that means we only have 2 swings the next turn, one with the leader and then one with the Shanks. It is what it is. We can't swing the chopper even if we wanted to because of the 7 cost Buggy on the field. Prevents a 3 cost and a 4 cost from swinging, but I think we're just going to use that as protection. So yeah, they play out a Dawes Bones. They're probably going to use their leader ability, pitch 1, play out the 10 cost. Yep, bottom deck the Beckman. Swing 5, we'll use our leader ability. And then they swing 5 again. I can just block it with the chopper and then bait them to use their Mihawk, but they're not going to. We'll go 5 into 5. see what they do here. Do they take it? Nope, they counter out, and then we'll go 12 into 5. They take it, and then here they might have another 10 cost. You got to be kidding me. Gravity Blade, 2 triggers in a row? That's insane. Okay, well, luck's on their side. Do they have? They have 2 cards in hand. Is one of them the 10 cost? We'll see. If it is, they have to spend every card in their hand, and then we kind of have to just take every life if that's the case. I think it is. Oh my gosh, I think it is. That's hilarious. That, oh my gosh, they had everything. Insane. Okay, well, good for them. But what we need to do here is just take as much life as possible, and we have an answer immediately. Okay, so we can go Otama Beckman, but if we have a rush unit, that also means that we can just win. We'll take the 8. By the way, I'm just taking all this life. Normally, I wouldn't take all of it, but because we want to find answers, we have answers. We have 3 answers here. We have the dragon, we have the Shanks, we have the Beckman. Doesn't matter. Let's swing 5 because they have to block it, and then we'll just give them the 10 cost Shanks to follow up. For some style points, of course. But yeah, that's I mean, this is how Buggy plays. They go really wide a little bit late, and then they answer something on the board, and that can be a problem. But luckily, we were able to find some answers from life. All right, Purple Luffy, I like this hand. We are going to go first. We have an Uta to find her curve. A Beckman would be nice. A 10 cost is also nice as well. We have a couple of 10 cost ready to go. And then this next turn, I feel like, well, drawing into Sanji is perfect. We'll just play this out. Our curve is curving. So we'll go 5 into 5. And for the most part, this matchup is pretty interesting in the sense that you usually will just swing at face. I think that you want to ignore Purple Luffy's bodies unless, of course, it's advantageous counter-wise for you to swing into them. Because it's going to be harder for them to counter out of anything that comes at their face because of the fact that they're a 5k leader. If you can get their bodies down to 5k, it might be worth swinging into them at that point, or just using your on-play effects to get rid of their bodies. We'll swing 5, we'll swing 6, and then honestly, that was a misplay. It's late. It's late. I should have played out the Yasop first, get an extra 2k out of hand. But yeah, oops, it happens. But yeah, okay, so here they just swing 5 into 3. We'll just take it and then draw a card. I'm definitely getting some brain rot. I'm tired here. So then this next turn, I mean, this next play that they have, they'll probably just swing 6 into us. We can just use our leader ability. Here, they probably also play the, was it Luffy Taro into Sangoro? That's their best play. Yep. Luffy Taro, Sangoro. And actually, they played it pretty smart. They didn't swing the Zorojuro because they knew that I would just use the leader ability, so there's no reason for them to leave their body susceptible. And that's fine. I'll just swing into lead here. And we're on 7, so we didn't have a Beckman, unfortunately, but we do have Lucky Roo Sanji. Let's go ahead and play those out. The Sanji, once again, replaces itself, so that's really nice to have on the field. This could be a 7-cost Sanji on their end, the one that rests a unit. If that's the case, that's a really good play for them. Otherwise, this Lucky Roo is going to put in some work. Looks like they don't have an answer to it. I'm actually going to go ahead and, this might seem a little strange, I'm going to go ahead and block it and then pop the Sangoro just so they don't get the draw. I don't want them to draw off of the Sangoro. So maybe they should have swung Sangoro first. Yeah, I think that's probably their best bet. You always want to swing that first because you can at least draw if I do decide to use the Lucky Roo, but I think that they probably assumed that I was going to use my leader ability, but I'm not going to. I'm taking the opportunity to get rid of that Sangoro immediately. And then they're just going to get rid of the Yasop. Yeah, it is what it is. That's fine. And then we'll use our leader ability to stop their leader from swinging. Here is a little awkward. We don't have a great curve. I think we just swing face. We'll go ahead and swing 6 at lead. We'll go Yasop. And then bump the Shanks leader up to 6 as well. So we'll go 6 and 6. Pitching Usohachi is really nice because that means that that's not a Usohachi that they're using this next turn to rest the Lucky Roo. They do have a Sanji, of course. Okay, so that's even better for them because now they're going to rest the Lucky Roo, but that means our Yasop still survives, so we have a body to swing with this next turn. We're at 4 health. We're looking pretty good. I think this next turn we just throw down the Shanks and then swing into their bodies. 6 into 5. That's it. I mean, I don't think they swing at the Lucky Roo ever. Okay, so they swing into the Sanji. We're of course letting that go. I'm not psycho. 6 into 6. Okay, we're going to use our leader ability here. They're just going to ignore the Lucky Roux. There's no reason to swing into it. Why would you play the Sanji and then attack into the Lucky Roux? It doesn't make any sense. 8 into 6. Let's take this one. Dragon's pretty decent, but I think the 10 cost is better. What else do they have? What else do they have? Oh, they're swinging their kid blocker. Okay. Respect. Let's counter out of this one with a 2K. And they might swing 8 with a Sanji. If they swing this 8 into 6, 8 into 5. So they do swing into the Lucky Roux. Very interesting. If they didn't swing into that Lucky Roux, I was just going to use it to swing into their bodies. Or not swing into the body, swing into face. So we'll go 5 into 5. They're probably going to let this one, or they're probably going to protect it. It's an easy way to protect. This is a 2K for them. Yeah, probably pretty easy to protect. Yep. And then we'll go and swing this into the 7 cost. Yeah, they're playing their curve, but we're also playing ours, so I think we're pulling ahead slightly. Here they might feel the pressure and they might want to push life. I think that's fine. I think that's probably their best bet. Yep. 5, we'll use our leader ability here. They might want to keep their kid up. Knowing that they swung with it last turn. Oh, they're playing it correctly. I mean, you should be swinging with your blockers. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't see people swinging with their blockers enough. Yeah, they just realized they couldn't get through. They did have a Gamma Knife. They could have taken a route where they use a Gamma Knife to reduce the Shanks by 5,000 and then swing really big into it and get it off the field. That could have been a play, but yeah, it looks like they just ran out of gas at that point. They played a perfect purple curve until this turn 6, but yeah, it was really close at that point. All right, Blackbeard's going to be a really tough one for us. I don't like this hand because of the fact that it doesn't have anything that has rush in it, and it's going to be very easy to remove these bodies for them. This hand is okay. The 10 cost Shanks is pretty solid in the matchup if you're going second, but the fact that they can drop their 10 drop before us is not great because they can just block 2K when we do play ours, and we don't even get anything to play on curve. This is rough. Okay, so they have the Lafitte, which is really annoying for us because we have to swing into it. We can't let the thing stay on the field. Into full of lead, being able to search. They're just getting their searches off. This is really good for them. A strong start from the Teach player here. And a really weak meddling start from me. We need to get a 5-drop immediately. Okay, so 6. We're going to use our leader ability and give them a 1K here. Just to stay relatively healthy. Another Lafitte. Yeah, they're seeing it. They're seeing exactly what they need here. Because they didn't use their leader ability, we're actually going to play out this Uta and then the Lucky Roux so we can set up future turns. We don't need all the 2Ks. We'll grab the Yasop to have at least a guaranteed play on 7. Ideally, we have a Beckman, but Yasop will be a decent second. I imagine that they probably have a way to get rid of this Lucky Roux, but if they don't, we can swing with it. So they do have the black hole. Yeah, they'll probably use the black hole on the Lucky Roux just to get it off the field. That's what Blackbeard does best, just answering the bodies every turn. We're going to use our leader ability here and then hopefully draw a Beckman. If not a Beckman, I think we swing 7 with our leader and then play the Yasop out. I don't think we play the Yasop out first, because if we play the Yasop out first and then swing, there's a potential finger gun in life that could KO it, and we don't want to give them that free value. We could also play a Sanji, but I don't think that's worth playing anything. It's easier to answer the Sanji than it is to answer the Yasop. They can only answer the Yasop with a handful of things, whereas the Sanji is like even more susceptible to removal. So I think that's fine. They could also just play the new 6 cost event and get rid of both of these bodies this turn, but is that worth it? I think for them, their best bet's Burgess. Yeah, Burgess is the best thing for them to play on 8 here. They're seeing, they did have the 6 cost event, by the way. So gosh, their hand is stacked. Yeah, our hand is like, our draw has been pretty bad. 6 into 5. We'll go 7 into 5 after that. Then I think we just play Lucky Roux Sanji and pass. We're at 5 life here, so we can actually feel pretty comfortable taking some life because we know that they're going to be dropping a 10 drop here. And it's probably going to be 10 drop after 10 drop after 10 drop at that point. But I don't know. I'm feeling greedy. I'm feeling really greedy here. I feel like I want to take all of the life here and just see what we can get. Is that smart? Probably not. But they have been seeing exactly what they need, and our start has been really bad. So let's just go ahead and see what we can get here. Usually they'll turn their attention to the body, but I mean, I'm not attacking with it anyway, so I guess they'll probably just attack face. Use their leader ability to get the extra 1,000 on there. Yeah, this is not looking good. I took too much life, and our start has been extremely slow. This is not how you want to start off against a Blackbeard. I'm thinking about swinging the Lucky Root here, but if I do, it pretty much means that we lose, guaranteed. Swing 6, they take it. We'll go ahead and play the 10 cost. And, I mean, it doesn't matter if we swing Burgess or Life, because I think Burgess means that they'd block 2k anyway. No matter what. And I imagine this is probably another 10 drop. If they have another 10 drop, that's pretty much game. I think we can just, like, see what we get out of Life, and then just maybe get a rematch here. Hopefully go second in the rematch. But yeah, okay. They had it. This is the best possible curve for Blackbeard. Let's just take the rest of the Life here. If they go Burgess, Teach, Swing, I think it's fine to just take and see what we get. Because, yeah, this one's pretty much over. I don't think there's a different way to play it. I think that our hand was pretty abysmal. We'll go ahead and just wrap this one up and then go on to a rematch. All right, we get the matchup. We're going to go second, and this hand is fine because we have an Uta to search out with. We have Lucky Roo on 4. We have Yasop on 6. We drew into a dragon, pretty solid as well. And we'll grab the Beckman just to make them think we have a play on 8 that will be Beckman, but instead we have a rush unit, so looking pretty good. If we can get a 10 cost, it'd be pretty nice. It's not needed, though. I think what we do need is maybe a rush Luffy instead of the Yasop. I think that's a pretty solid play instead, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. Of course, they start with the Lafitte, but luckily this time we have the Uta to swing into the Lafitte. And here I'm just going to take it. My prayers have been answered. We have our rush units that we need. We'll go 2 into 1. If they decide to counter, then we'll swing into it, but they don't. Good on us. And then we'll play out the Lucky Roo here. I don't expect this Lucky Roo to survive, but we'll see. We shall see. It never does. Oh, I spoke too soon. It does. It survives. Okay, so they go Kuzan, draw a card, play out the Burgess. That's a fine play. They don't swing because they know. Here we can be aggressive. Let's swing this Lucky Roo. We'll go ahead and grab a Divine Departure with the Uta first. We don't need 2 Beckmans. The Divine Departure might come in handy at some point. Swing 5. 6 and then 6. Pretty good. Feels good, man. They counter out. Okay, they're trying to stay healthy. They realize that the pressure is on. But I think this next turn, we are looking pretty good. If we can protect our units, like all of the units, I think we're in a good standing. And I think it's possible as well, depending on how they swing here. They might swing their Teach, or they might swing their leader into the Lucky Roo to bait me to use my leader ability. And it's not really a bait. I'm just going to use my leader ability. And then if they decide to swing Burgess into the Luffy, I'm going to protect it every day of the week, without a doubt. Their board's looking pretty strong, though. Looking pretty strong. So yeah, let's use our leader ability here. I don't think they're going to swing into the Lucky Roo. I don't think they want to. Yeah, 8 into 6. Let's go ahead and counter out of that. KO Shanks is not good here. Unfortunate. I'm going to swing 6 into 5, see if they counter out. They know that there's a bunch of swings coming their way, so they might be tempted. They do. So we're going to try to get rid of this Burgess. 10 into 8 is going to be hard for them to get rid of. 5 into 5, and then 5 into 5 again. We're bringing the pressure here. Love to see it. This is how you're supposed to play against Teach. This is why, like, this Luffy's really good in this matchup. This is why Dragon is really good in this matchup. Unfortunately, in the previous match, we didn't see it. But as you can see for this one, it definitely puts in work. Now, they might go and swing their Burgess into the Luffy again. And I actually am tempted to save it. Use my leader ability, go 1k, 2k. And then they might go and play out Black Hole and get rid of the Lucky Roo. Or they might just swing another 9. They could swing another 9 into the Luffy, and that could do it. If they swing 9 into Luffy, we'll let it go, of course, but then we can swing... None of these cards in hand are good, so I'm going to swing 7 with Lucky Roo to start it off with. They take... Wow. 9 into 5. They have to counter out of this one, or else it's pretty much game, right? 2, 2, 1. Okay. Let's put some Dawn on Uta, swing 5, because one of these has got to be a 10 cost. And if they counter... Oh, they take it? What? Okay, let's just go all out. Let's go 10. What is it? Trigger? Okay. Doesn't matter. We'll go 10 here. For guaranteed lethal. And both of them were 10 costs. Okay, so as you can see, going second is much more advantageous in this matchup, and especially if you're able to find rush units, it applies a lot of pressure against Teach, which Teach has difficulty handling. Ooh, Doffy. Okay, so I think Doffy's actually a pretty good pick, regardless of the fact that it had the Jinbei ban. It's still a strong sleeper pick in my opinion. Great opening hand for us. We have 2 Rayleighs ready to go. We have the Uta to start off with. Unfortunately, we don't find a Yasop off of the Uta search. Lucky Roo is fine if we don't have anything else to play, but letting them know that we have a Lucky Roo means that they can easily find a Law when they need to. They might already have one in hand. They just grabbed one. Okay, so that means that we probably shouldn't be playing the Lucky Roo down. So what we'll do is we'll play a Hongo down this next turn, which is fine. Hongo's a good play because Hongo is kind of awkward for them because like they play a Law and they bounce the Hongo back to hand. They're giving me a 2K. They kind of don't want to do that. And we don't even need to play the Lucky Roo anymore because we drew into the Yasop, a really good pick or draw for us. We'll go 5 into lead. They'll likely take this one. They usually take the first hit. Crocodile being the 2K that bounces a 1 cost back to hand, or 2 cost back to hand. Play out the Hongo. Hongo will get some mileage because in this matchup, it's rather difficult for Doffy to find, I guess, like the time or the windows to really swing into the Hongo, because like Hongo gets good mileage as the game goes on. But Doffy wants to be aggressive and like hit me as much as possible and force me to drop cards from hand. And if they're swinging into a Hongo, it doesn't really feel good for the Doffy. It's a solid play in my opinion to swing into the Hongo, but most Doffys don't want to, and I understand why not. Here we're just going to take... There's no yeah, we're definitely taking this. It's 9. It's a 9 into face. It's yeah. That was a blind one too. Pretty solid first swing here. They have a lot of cards in hand here. We could get 2 cards out of hand this next turn. We could go Hongo minus 2,000 with the Boa Hancock, play out the Yasop, buff our leader up by 1,000, and then swing 6 into 4. And they'll give us a 2 and a 1. I don't think they're going to let this go. This Shanks is the last kind of Shanks that we want in this matchup. It's pretty, I wouldn't say useless, but it's not necessarily very effective in what we're wanting to do because they definitely go wide and Shanks answers tall. And if they're going wide and you answer one like medium-sized body, it's like, okay, cool. Unless, of course, we do a good job with the Rayleighs answering their board. The 10-cost Shanks is not necessarily a great play. I imagine here they're probably just going to counter. They should. They should always counter. Yeah, they have the Law. We know they have a Law. They could give us the Crocodile because they showed both of those cards. So we don't know what's in their hand. We can't really gauge what's there. Here's a good use of their Sengokus. They could put Dawn on the Sengoku and swing into the Hongo. I think that's fine. That's actually probably their best time to do that. Teach here. That's pretty solid. On 7, we don't really have anything on 7, unfortunately. We could just play out a Lucky Roo knowing that they dropped a Law, but if they drop 1 Law, it means that they might have another one. Usually, that's what that means. I don't know. All right, so 7 into 6. We're going to use our leader ability on their leader. They're probably going to put the Rested Dawn on the leader as well, and that's fine. What we'll do is we'll just give them a 2K here, and then I imagine they're probably going to swing the other Boa Hancock. Okay, so yeah, give them a 2K, and then here, I imagine because we used our leader ability, it's going to be easier for them to just go Sengoku into the Hongo. And I'm not going to defend it at that point because that's too many cards in my hand, or out of my hand, rather. Okay, 5 into 3, you can have it, sure. Yasop is our best bet. It's not great. We'll swing the other Yasop into the Boa Hancock. I feel like they probably should have swung that other Hancock, but I don't know. Maybe they felt like it wouldn't have been worth it, potentially losing a couple of bodies this turn. We'll go an Uta into the Sengoku. Not that it matters. And then we'll go 7 into 6. They could block and give us a 2K, but they might just want to take it. Yeah, just take it if that was them. And this following turn, they could go Gravity Blade. That might be their best bet. They could go Gravity Blade, get rid of both of the Yasops, and then use their leader ability because of the Teach ability. We'll be able to answer some things with the Rayleigh coming down, so I think that's pretty solid. Okay, so they play out a Mihawk. Probably just trying to fill the board out. Not the best card to be playing, but honestly, it's not that bad either because they could be searching for some stuff with this Mihawk, just digging further into the deck. The way that the deck plays now is it doesn't go as wide as it did before, but it still has great synergy with what it's trying to do. It has great ways to recur bodies. I think that they bumped up Moria pretty highly. So, okay, so they're just trying to clear this Yasop. That's fine. I think that's probably a solid play overall. We'll let it go. Here, what we can do is we can play out the Rayleigh, -3 to the Hancock, or -3 to the Weevil. It doesn't really matter, because both of them will be -3. They're just going to clear out this Uta. Sure. Sure, have it. But here with the Rayleigh, I think it's important to pop the Teach. It might have been better to 3 the Weevil, but regardless, I think this is still fine. I think this is still fine. 6 into 4, and then we can go another 6 into 4. Yeah, right? 6-4 is still good. That's 2 cards out of hand. Another 6 and 4 would be 2 cards out of hand if they decide to protect this one. Wow, they decided to just block that one? Okay, interesting. Does that mean that they don't have the cards to protect it? They do. Okay, so I don't know if that was the best. Maybe they couldn't have protected it twice. I'm not entirely sure. But maybe they thought that that was the best use of their play there. I don't know. I don't know if... Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. They're going to go Moria, grab something from the trash, grab the Teach. Yeah, this is where the deck really pops off, is that it goes like Moria into grabbing something, into playing something with the leader ability. But we are reaching the end game here. We're hitting this 10 Dawn rather soon, next turn. So we'll go ahead and use our leader ability on this Mihawk. -1,000, counter out 1,000. We're just trying to stay healthy. We might take one hit here. They also might want to turn their attention to this other Yasop, which that's fine. I think that's okay. Pitching and putting, because we're not going to be having a big hand size for them to want to putting us. Now they're using the Teach ability to put 2 under. They're eating their hand size by doing this, of course. But if they have a big body this turn, like another Weevil, that could be good. Oh, they're just... Okay, so this is the reason why they protected it, because the fact that they could swing another 6 this turn is really good for them. So, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to take 2 here. I mean, I could have countered out with that Chopper, but I think we just have to take 2 here. Because they dropped a pudding this previous turn, I think it's fine. And then, once again, we have a Rayleigh this turn for us to be able to answer their board pretty efficiently. We can go like -3, -2 to whatever we want, pop the Teach, and then the Yasop can swing 7 into 5 into the Mihawk. I think we should be able to clear board pretty easily here. Yeah, we're able to do that. We'll go 6 into 3, and then 8 into 3. And then we can focus our attention this next turn into their life. We're looking pretty good because we have a fair amount of 2Ks in hand now. So I feel like we're on the verge of really turning this game, I guess, back into our favor. They've been able to establish a board every turn and stay relatively healthy along the way. So yeah, I think that okay, 8 into 5. So this is going to probably be either a 9 into 5, or they're probably putting the Dawn onto the Moria, but who knows? They might just be trying to push us to 0. We'll see what they do with this Dawn. We will counter out of this first attack, though. I think that's pretty important to do. Okay, so they put it in the Moria. Interesting. We'll go 2 and a 1. Moria would swing pretty big here, I guess. It doesn't really matter. Okay, we're just going to give him a 1K here. We're going to keep this Yasop alive. What do they have? Jozu? Okay, that's fine. They're going to bounce the Yasop back. I suppose that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. This actually might be a good 10-cost KO Shanks turn. Actually, to get rid of this Jozu, because I don't have another way to answer it, really. So we'll go 5. We'll go 8. They're playing this Weevil. Interesting. Okay, cool. I like that. I like that addition. We'll KO this Jozu and then pass the turn. I think we're looking pretty good here. I don't think there's a way for them to really close out this game. The fact that we have all these big bodies on the field, we have a Rush Dragon to kind of close out from here. They go Moria into Teach. Probably cheating on another body, maybe? Although that's eating their hand again. I feel like at this point they don't need to be doing that, unless it's a Weevil, of course. This is the problem with Doffy now. It's not a problem. It's just like these turns they could be doing like Jinbei Moria, right? So they'd have more bodies to swing with, more pressure. This is fine. 9 into 5, we'll just take it. We could just answer this Moria, but I think we just go and swing really big. We swing 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. We do like a ladder. Make it harder every time for them to counter out of stuff. 2 into 1. If they don't counter out of this one, it's game. It's game. 9 to 5. That means they give us 3 cards, and then we swing Rayleigh for guaranteed, and then Shanks for guaranteed. We'll just swing 14 and close out here. Yeah, we got lucky with all the Rayleighs that we saw, and also the fact that they don't have Jinbeis anymore just makes it like a little bit more easy for this matchup to be Shanks' favorite. Those games felt very smooth. Of course, we did have a little bit of an issue there when we played one of the Blackbeards where they got a curve and played to their outs and saw pretty much everything they needed. But outside of that, this Shanks deck felt pretty solid. I think this is a really good pick overall if you're going to be going to a tournament, whether it's online or in person. Even locals to take this out if you want to try and be a little bit more sweaty. Of course, I mean, that's kind of what locals are there for, right? To practice decks and get them under your belt. I feel like this is probably a good build overall. I don't know what I would really change. Of course, you can, like I mentioned in the intro, build it a couple different ways, but I think this is probably one of the better ways to build it, in my opinion. I think that with the Utsu Searcher, being able to search out some of this top end is really strong. Of course, with the downside, not being able to find your 8 costs can be a problem, and in some instances I would like to add in the 7 cost Newgate, which will be an issue to try to find room to put that in here. I think the 7 cost Newgate's really great against decks like Zoro or decks that go really wide, so that might be an answer to some of those decks. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this deck has turned out. Not too many changes from OP09, but the changes that we did put in definitely strengthen the core of this deck overall. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this Shanks deck. How are you building Shanks? What do you think about Shanks overall? I know now there's a lot of like hate towards this leader for some reason. I feel like whatever deck really rises to the top, people start to get really angry about. But let me know what you guys think about Shanks overall in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.